Okay, so today I want to talk about women gaslighting. Now, I was talking about this before the show. I really think women, we just have two defaults. It's gaslighting, virtue signaling. And that's just what we go between. It's like we got to three. Gaslighting, nagging, virtue signaling. And I'd like to say most of my observations about the world, they some come from Rollo Tomasi, some come from Myron, some come from Kevin Samuels. I talk about the great men that inspired a lot of my work. But the number one thing that I liked about when I was watching like Red Pill content is it just made everything make sense. I would hear something and I would say, oh, that's why it is. So I guess Candace is crashing out on Nick right now on Twitter. And I just thought this was the funniest thing I've seen in a while. Now, I had Nick on my show, and I didn't understand why he makes everybody crash out. I didn't get it. To me, he was one of the most pleasant, guests we had on. He was super nice. He was on time. And I understand some of his opinions are pretty out there. I don't agree with a lot of them. But I just thought as a person, I'm someone, and I think this gets me in trouble. I have a very liberal friend, and he tells me that in media training, you can't say, and I guess this is where I get in trouble, because I can understand a very left person's point of view and a very right person's point of view. But I guess when you say I understand, that means I agree. And he just said in media training, they tell you not to do that, but I guess I missed that. Now, Nick, he's being called a Fed today on Twitter. And I guess Milo is saying that he's a Fed. And this is causing him, Candace, and Nick to crash out. And the reason I was thinking about this is whenever there's a woman involved, women have a tendency to make up stories about men and women and go around to a bunch of people. And then when they come out, they'll all corroborate it. And that's how things tend to go. And Candace invited Nick onto her show, and she really could have discussed, they're in politics, so they could have discussed politics. They could have discussed all this cool stuff. But instead, Candace decides to focus on why aren't you married? And bring up personal information. And that's really the challenge that we're starting to get in branding nowadays, is it used to be about the information. Now it's about the person. It's why I kind of have a hard time with this job at times, because I'm a flawed person, right? I'm not, there's a lot of ways that I could be better. I have regrets in life like anyone. And women have a tendency to come for me. When women attack me, they might attack who I am as a person, and they're vicious with it. But when men attack you, they just call you an idiot. And I'd really prefer the idiot. Like, you tell me why I'm wrong. So, Pearl on Tucker's show, I don't think he'd ever have me. So what I thought this was interesting was this was just an example of female gaslighting, Candace. So Candace has a tweet and comes out and she says, I am honestly in awe about how much Nick has publicly lied about me since he left my house. But rather than cry about it, I have invited him back on for an actual debate where he can bring his alleged receipts. So women feel a tendency to be entitled to being a bitch to you for life. And they also feel entitled to defending themselves when you're calling them a bitch, right? So Candace invites Nick on her show, and she's actually quite rude to him. It's kind of a setup interview. And then Nick goes on his show and, he talks about why it was a setup interview. And then Candace is mad because he didn't want to start a fight to her face. And I'm like, isn't that the most kind of ghetto thing to say ever? Maybe I shouldn't say, you got to say it to my face. Well, why would I want to do that if I'm going to be gaslit, bitched at, and nagged? Like, if those are my three options, why would I do it? And women feel entitled to this. They feel entitled to the fighting. And they call you weak if you're not going to do it right to their face. And I just think it's interesting because I'm like, why are you in media if that's your expectation? We're shit talkers. That's what we do. You know, if you had Blake Lively on your show in front of you with Ryan Reynolds, I don't think you would go through all of the information you reported on. I really don't. I think it would be a little bit awkward, and we all kind of know what comes with this job. To his inevitable victim act, I've asked Dan Bilzerian to moderate the discussion so Nick can't put his favorite "I was attacked because I'm so real, they're going to kill me" skit. So now, and this is why men don't open up to women, right? Nick actually he almost did get killed for the stuff he says. He had a gunman come to his house and try to kill him. And now the woman feels like it's right to make fun of him. Do you guys see what I mean when I say I just have a special hatred in my heart, I think? I think it's because I grew up around them. And, you know, honestly, their advice wasted a lot of years of my life. There's nothing that you hate more than someone that gave you advice that made you waste years of your life. Nothing. And I'll go into that a different day. So my point is with this, he in a way opens up, like he talks about, that's something vulnerable and probably one of the scariest moments of his life. And in an argument, she felt like it was necessary to bring that up and use it against him. Too many theater boys in politics. And so now she's trying to insult him and call him like weird or dorky or whatever. I'm like, Candace, do you think you're cool? I'm not trying to be mean, but like, and I think this is why I'm not really a hateful person, right? I'm really not. Anyone that's known me for a long time, but I don't like watching like people get bullied. It really bothers me. Like there's just a part of my soul where I'm like, you know, that's how I started this e-girl fight. That is because even though I disagreed with Emily on the ring comment, I just still thought, all right, you don't need to call Emily a whore. Like, I mean, we didn't need to do all, that's just not, you know. And that's how I feel like watching this. She knows that she has, like, she's a woman. She's got the woman card. This will be fun because I will reveal to the public that we should not fear the discussion if we're telling the truth. And I just am thinking, like, what does this have to do with the topic? Like, I thought this was Israel-Palestine, right? But now it's Nick's a theater kid. Nick was mean to this person. Oh, you're going to kill me. Like making fun of him. And I'm like, what? Vicious. So then it says Nick is a sensitive theater boy. Needs a woman before he becomes an old man. He's starting to look like it. It's honestly weird how people can't see he's performing. The mistake people keep making is avoiding Nick. It allows him to keep up the victim act and his lies go unchecked. So this is what women want to do, right? Women hold a tally of every bad thing you've done in your life. And look, I'm not a saint, right? But it's pretty exhausting, especially with women, is they just every time you've said something wrong or done something wrong, they just keep, it could be from 3 years ago. They keep bringing it up, right? I'm not kidding when I say he lies about me almost pathologically since he left my house. It's like he only came on so then he could then pretend to be a victim of some attack that never happened. I've never seen anything like it. But a Twitter back and forth is meaningless. We could do it face to face and he could bring the receipts. And so she's saying, I want to gaslight you. Right? She's saying, please let me gaslight. I want to be able to gaslight you. You know, because like I've had instances like this, okay, where somebody, I'm not going to say the person, but I had a person say, you can't talk about me on my stream without being able to defend myself. And I'm like, do you know what? I actually can, because you're going to gaslight me into oblivion. Like, you know what? You could do a whole stream on my stream and then you can tell your points fully, right? You can do it. But I just don't want to be gaslit today. You have your thing that you're selling. We're going to go back and forth. So then, what happened to this? Your first ambush backfired, and now you want another swing, little girl. Presumptuous to think I'd want anything. And this is what happens. We reveal female nature, right? We reveal a woman doing something wrong, and the woman has to gaslight us into eternity. Where is this? I want the full text. And I just thought this was hilarious. I really did. I was like, oh wait, hold on. Let me see. All right, so that was my point with Candace is women have a tendency to feel entitled to gaslighting. And where men, they have a tendency to just say, you know what, you have your opinions, I have mine. You can think negatively of me. That's